Hi, and welcome to another Lorenzo's Music Podcast. I'm Tom Ray. On the show this week, I talked to a musician who's actually been on the show before. But this time around, we talk about how he created a remix for our remix album that came out about a month ago. And this is Nicholas Burgess, and he remixed our song Rainy Day Friction. And we discuss his methods for remixing it, what he used, how he went about actually creating a remix, and some of the things that he did to change it up a bit. So we discuss all of that. This recording is actually from an Instagram Live we did after the song was released. And here is the recording of Nicholas Burgess about his remix he did for our song Rainy Day Friction. We are here today to talk about your remix that you did for the album that we just released, the Lorenzo's Remixes album. Now, you remixed the song Rainy Day Friction. And first of all, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate that you took the time to make that remix for us. But I want to ask you some questions about how you went about it, some of the techniques or the things that you did. Was there a musical influence going in? Like, how do you start a mix? Like, did you listen to it and go, okay, this makes me think of this, or this makes me think of this artist, so I'm going to approach it that way?
Not like a particular artist, but I think what I did was I took your stems, so all the different tracks, and I started listening to them, not one at a time, but I was going through thinking, like, what does this part sound like? How does this part sound? And building it off certain parts.
Okay.
So I'd have I'm trying to remember. I didn't actually go back and double check, but I think I kept like the bass exactly from the original.
Oh, you did. Okay.
I kept a few parts, and then I put a part back on. Like, let's say I had a guitar or something that I had off or muted, and I put it back on, and I think, does this quite do what I want it to? I don't know.
Yeah.
What would I rather have there? And so I was kind of starting from just a few pieces of it, and then building. I was just kind of like doing it as if it was my own song, I think, was my approach.
Okay.
Which is why I even changed some of the like melody, and I dropped some parts, because my approach was like, well, if this was going to be, if this is going to be on my Spotify page, or if this is going to be have my name on it, I kind of want it to sound like me.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to just go for a certain sound. So I was taking some pieces that were there and building off of them.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of like, what would my instinct be with this?
So when I talked to you last, you were actually getting ready to release your own remix album of songs that you had put out. And one thing that stuck out to me, and I noticed this in the remix that you did, you had mentioned to me on your album, one of the remixes you did is there basically you kind of focus on certain parts of the song and decide that the remix is going to showcase or kind of highlight those parts. Like one of the songs in particular was, you said there was a woman that was speaking in Spanish kind of in the background of one of the songs. Yeah. And then you did a remix, and that was the focus of the song. And that's kind of what you told me you were going to do this, and that made me think of it. But you were like, I kind of want to focus on the chorus.
What if I want to stay after you walk away? That leaves me with nothing I hold.
And that's what you did. And I thought that was really cool, that you really just made the song that one part.
What if I want to stay after you walk away? That leaves me with nothing.
That was kind of the idea, was because that was my favorite part. I don't know, I just felt like, well, if this was my song, I would probably repeat this, I don't remember how many times, but 3 times or something. Yeah, I thought, like, it would be fun to build a song around this. And that's kind of how, like, like like pop songwriters do it now, is they'll, like, if you see a credit on a song that's like, I don't know, who's someone who uses a lot of, let's say like Bon Jovi has a new song coming out, and it'll say like John Bon Jovi and whatever songwriter. A lot of the way that works now is that songwriter might have sent them a chorus or something like that. And they'll take that and they'll Bon Joviize it, or like Weezer will do this, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, well, what if I got this chorus as like a song starter? And I mean, I did more than that because I took like the other parts of the song too, but and then like
Right.
built something around that. So
Yeah.
it was kind of a half remix, half like songwriting collaboration.
Did you end up changing the tempo at all, or do you keep the same tempo?
I think I kept it. I can't remember exactly, but I think I kept it because I didn't want to mess with the vocals that were already there. The tempo feels different because I did a different kind of beat, but I think
Right.
it's the same. Like the
Okay.
numbers the same.
How did you do the beat for that? Did you program it first of all in the DAW, or did you do it externally?
Um, I can't remember, but I think what I did, just vaguely, I think what I did was I think I just took some loops that I had and kind of like put them on top of each other and probably like affected them with filters and stuff to see what sounded good. Usually, if I'm trying to go for like that kind of like remixy sound, I'll use more loops versus like if I'm doing like a more rock sound. If I don't have a real drum kit, I might do like Midi or something. But
Okay.
I think in this case it was loops.
All right. Where do you collect your loops from? How do you, or do you make them yourselves and kind of bank them, or do you get them from somewhere?
Sometimes I make them. Sometimes I get them from like royalty-free loop things. I usually always change them and cut them up and like layer them on top of each other, so it's never really sounding exactly like the original loop did.
Hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, it's kind of just like a assortment of stuff. I don't have them very well organized, but I kind of have them dumped into a folder, and I'll usually if I'm doing a remix or this kind of thing, I'll do a really cursory search of just like even file names and just like browse through and grab a few and see how they work.
Now, in the beginning of the song, there's a chime. Kind of sounds like, I want to say, a music box, maybe. So it's like ding
Oh,
dong, ding dong.
yeah. Yeah.
What is that?
I think that's a MIDI version of is it called the Celeste, I think? I might be
Okay.
wrong. I'm doing this from memory because I haven't listened to it in like a week, so I should have done
Right.
homework right before and crammed it, but I don't. But I believe that's a Celeste. There's like I think the BBC makes a, a virtual like orchestral plugin that
Really?
yeah, if you look up like BBC Orchestra VST, I think it's probably that, and they have some good sounding like percussion in there.
The right after that, it has a synth part that kind of like wow. It does like a thing. Now, is that a synth that you had, or is that using a MIDI synth
Oh,
that's
it's got
inside
to
the
be.
DAW?
It's like almost always a MIDI synth for me. I'll use I have a few go-tos for like different synths I'll use on MIDI. The TAL lines of stuff is like it's like this I think it's just called baseline. I might be wrong, but there's a TAL bass synth that I use all the time. Um, I'll often use like a emulated like Commodore 64
Oh,
if I want to get it really weird sounding.
okay.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound as video gamey as you would think. It's a very strange sounding system.
Yeah.
And there's a few other synths I'll go to. There's one called like Kyra, I believe, Kaira. I don't remember exactly which one that one is, but there's a good chance it's one of those.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I have a bank of it's called a chipset bank. It's built into, I use a MIDI sort of, not a plugin, but basically it's a MIDI library thing that hooks into the synthesizer that I use. It's called Yoshimi,
hmm,
and it's got a built-in pre-done sort of library of sounds, and one of them is a chip sound. And there's a couple in there where it's like, okay, yeah, that's a chip, that's an old computer sound, and
hmm.
they'll be labeled as such, but none of them are. It's got like one of the coolest bass sounds I've ever heard, like a distorted sort of affected bass sound.
Yeah,
And it's like, I don't remember basses being like that on those old computers.
no. I usually will add more effects on top of whatever synth I use
Oh
too.
yeah.
So, and more EQ. So it's hard to say.
Okay.
Like if you took if you took one of those plugins, you might not be able to get the exact same sound because it probably has other stuff on it too.
Now, speaking of the intro of the song, and this is one part where it's like, it almost seems like it's hidden or maybe backwards or whatever, but I always try to figure it out. There's whispering in the beginning. It's like creepy whispering, like in the closet or behind the walls whispering. What is that?
I think that was just me whispering. I believe what I did was, so I had that chorus there, and the lyrics were, basically like saying like, "Don't go, I don't want things to change."
Okay.
And so I knew I wanted to change or to make where the verses would go, I think, be more just spacey, and not really have like the verse melody. But sometimes I want to put in like a little bit of something human sounding. So, it could be like just voices if it's not singing, or it could be whispering, or sometimes people will use like a clip from a movie, just something to add some humanity. And I think I just did some like extemporaneous speaking along the lines of the chorus themes, and I don't think any of it sounded like the words were good enough to really be intelligible. Like it would be distractingly just like it was just okay. But I like the sound of the voice there, so I think I can't remember if I did it backwards or if it's just really quiet, but it's just enough to be like kind of ghostly, add some humanity, but without sometimes like if you could really make out specific words, it might be too distracting. Like so, it's just wanted to make it unintelligible.
So you weren't putting like hidden backwards satanic messages in the song.
No, if you could figure it out, if you could figure out what it was probably just something along the lines of what the chorus words are, but like spoken.
What I would love is if it turned out to actually be like your grocery list. Or something like that. Like it's a nice spooky feel, but actually it's like 2 sticks of butter, a loaf of bread. No, I really enjoyed that part of it.
It was probably, I don't remember exactly what the words were, but I bet it was something where like I thought, well, maybe this would work if you could hear it, but then it was better not being able to hear it.
Speaking of the mood of the song and writing it the way that you would say, if you, I mean, it being on your list, you being credited for it, so you were kind of doing it the way you would. What would you call the style of it? I don't, for some reason it reminds me of late 80s, or not even late 80s, like not Joy Division, but in that realm, like that kind of spooky, but yet at the same time melodic and movement.
Well,
what would you say it is?
I don't know exactly genre-wise, because the beat is kind of like, not like totally contemporary, but relatively contemporary beat. Like the arpeggiated, like orchestral kind of stuff is more like what's his name? The guy who did all the original James Bond soundtracks. John Barry, I think is his name. John Barry. It's kind of got that sound, like a lot of tension and an arpeggio. And it doesn't really sound like Duran Duran, but like it's a little similar to like some Duran Duran stuff. Like they did the song by John Barry. They did the "View to a Kill," and they did on like Night Boat and
For the Chauffeur, even.
Yeah, it's along the lines of those, but with like a more contemporary beat. So it's kind of new wavy with a '60s influence, but with a more like a modern beat.
And you mentioned the James Bond composer. There is, and unless you're paying attention, you don't really notice it. But once it gets towards the peak of the song, before the ending, you realize that it's like, wait, there's like many instruments layered over each other at this point. But it doesn't seem like there is. How many instruments would you say that you actually layered on top of each other by the
I don't know, but I have a tendency tendency to put too many instruments on things, and then I
Okay.
have to mix them, like either mix them out or just
Okay.
balance them as carefully as I can to get them to be not too much. And that's what I'm dealing with right now. I've got a new album coming out soon, and I recorded too much stuff. So
Like too many tracks on the songs?
yeah, well, just so many tracks, not like I'll want to put in, I'll have an idea for a string part, and then I'll have guitars, then I'll have another guitar, and then I'll have a bass, and then like, after a while I can't even estimate because there might be, what might sound like one synth when you're listening could actually be like four
Right.
and or stuff like that. So, like you said, like it doesn't seem like there's that many tracks until you start really paying attention because you're kind of like
Yes.
introducing one at a time and EQing them so they're not all building on top of each other. But I think I threw in a whole bunch of synths on there.
Another thing you did too is you actually sing with me on the song. You actually
Yeah.
layered your own vocals.
When I was listening to it, I wanted the end of the chorus to stop a little earlier and like have an echo on it.
No, and you actually removed one part. It was it leaves me with nothing, and that's where you stopped the line.
Oh, right,
And
right, right.
I hold is the next line, and that part isn't there. And I was just like, oh, neat. And it's cool too because the echo kind of accents that after that part too.
Right. That yeah, so I think when I had the thought, I was like, well, let me try singing it and see how it sounds because that's not how you sang it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to do that. And then I thought, oh, well, I think that could work, but I didn't want to just make it me. So actually, I think I did spend some time trying to I don't know where this remix is, so I don't think I can even open it. I did spend some time trying to balance our voices so it didn't sound like I was doing the lead, but I wanted it to be there, like not just like a buried backup vocal, but like it kind of came in like a duet or something.
Yeah. No, and it definitely came across that way. I really liked it. I thought it was a good blend of the vocals. Um, to the point where at first, I mean, I noticed it later, but when it first came in, I'm like, oh, I thought he said he was going to sing on this. And then I was like, oh,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
is.
I had a
So it worked
version
out really good.
I think some earlier mixes, my vocals were louder, but I was like, this is too much like a cover or like a new song, so I wanted to balance the vocals out.
Okay.
I'm opening a file here. It might be the remix, but it has a really
You
weird
think you
name.
might have it? Well, and I mean, so now I'm at the part where I'm also asking about the end as well. So at the end, the song ends, the last vocal kind of echoes out over and over again and repeats as
Right.
it decays and gets quieter. And some of the instruments start to fade out, and then other instruments they decay but start getting louder. And there's like this sort of, I want to say, machinery sort of thing. There are two instruments that just start going chugga, 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 chugga.
Yeah.
What is that? How did you do that?
Oh, let me try to remember now that I can't look at I didn't actually, it wasn't the file.
It wasn't the file.
May have messed with like the time a little bit, or just to like, because you take, like synths are like waveforms, so they'll have like a rhythmic pattern if you start slowing them down.
Yeah.
And then if you
Yeah.
mess that up, sometimes there's interesting, like between two synths, there might be an interesting way they juxtapose, like with the waveforms once they're off. I do a lot of like messing around with the sounds after they're already down
Yeah.
until like they're just what I want. So I'll put on like way too many effects. Like if you open up the effects list, it's just stupid how many effects I'll put on things. Even there might be all like subtle, like there might be like a little bit of EQ and a little bit of this, and then a delay, and then later there'll be another delay.
I'll over add stuff on tracks, but the thing is I also have a tendency not to delete them, even if I decide not to use them and try something else, because I'm like, maybe I'm wrong about this, and I'll later on go back and go, oh, that did sound okay. I just wasn't in the right headspace. So I'll have all these like useless useless effects on each one of the tracks that, like, even towards the end, I still don't use, but I don't delete.
Yeah, I just mute them. I don't usually delete them. If I'm not sure, I'll just turn the effect off.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I do
It's
too.
still there. No, so now I've confirmed. I have no idea where that multi-track is. It's probably on another drive. I think I probably backed it up onto a disk drive. So
That's
I can't tell you
okay.
exactly what that sound is, but I like sometimes at the end of a song, like rather than just have like a sustain or a fade, I find it fun to like either mess with the pitch or with the timing or with the like put a phaser or something on it. Just something so it's not just a normal sustain.
Yeah. And I was just wondering too if it, because you know how it is when you're playing a synth and they always add their own like reverby or echo or delay on it. I was wondering if it was one, because it seems like it goes up, the pitch goes up. So I was wondering if you just hit the last note on it and it was doing that thing and maybe you slowed it down and just gradually turned it up as the actual synth decayed. I didn't know. Which now that I say that, that seems like way more work than it should be. So it probably wasn't it.
Some of the synths I use do have weird, like arpeggiation or like just like they decay in really weird ways that you don't hear when they're going along, but then once you let them decay, they do like a really weird thing. Like that Commodore 64 one, I think it's just called C64.
Okay.
Has some really weird sounding decays to the point where if you're using it in a song and it's in the first, whatever, the first couple of verses and then there's a little break, you have to mute it right there or else it's going to do a really strange thing.
Mm-hmm.
You might be like, and you don't want that in the song. You have to mute it.
Right.
But those things can be cool, like if you do leave them. So I'm gonna guess that it's either that synth or something similar, where it was just a cool sounding decay that I decided to leave in.
And then, so just before we go today, you had mentioned before that you have a new album, new song, something coming out.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
There's a new album coming out in, I think, October, but two new songs are coming out on Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
So it's going to be a pre-order going up on Wednesday, so I'll have 2 new songs. It's going to be the pre-order will be on Bandcamp, but the songs will be everywhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, the songs have been done for a while, but I'm kind of in a mad rush to like get all the artwork ready and nail down all the Bandcamp stuff. Like,
right.
They're going to come with 1 sticker or 2 stickers or stuff like that.
Yeah, you're doing physical copies?
Yep, I'm going to do, as far as I know, I have 2 days to change my mind. I have like 1 day to change my mind. I think it'll be a small run of CDs and a small run of tapes, and then I'm going to do at least 1 sticker, but I'm going to do something else too fun. I'm not sure what.
Yeah.
I've been looking into options. Even though the album's not out till October, I kind of have to like get all that stuff nailed down now.
Okay.
So people can order it.
What's the name of the album?
It's called MEJORA MAJORA. It's kind of hard to spell because it's spelled like the first half is spelled like if it was in Spanish, and the second half is spelled like Latin, I guess. So MEJORA MAJORA.
Okay, and that's going to be available on your website and all the other good places?
Yeah. I'll be updating I haven't posted that much lately on like Instagram and Facebook because I'm going to be posting a ton in a couple of days. So it'll be everywhere.
No, cool. I'm glad. I'm excited for that to come out this Wednesday. I'm going to keep an eye out for it. Again, thank you so much for doing the remix. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that for us and just be part of the new album. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, no problem. It was fun to do. Pew, pew.